Welcome to Rewatch-and-Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Charmed Season 3, Episode 8, Sleuthing with the Enemy. And now for a brief reminder of what happens within this episode. The episode starts with Prue and Piper creating the vanquishing potion for Balthazar, while Phoebe worries about Cole as she hasn't been able to get in touch with him for some time now, and she has become quite worried about him. Because of her worrying, Prue basically tells Phoebe that she can go and try to find Cole. Her and Piper are going to try to deal with Balthazar. And so Phoebe does so, and she leaves. She goes to Cole's office where she meets Rhys Davidson, who is investigating Cole, and she learns that Cole hasn't been working on any cases and is currently being investigated by his bosses, and all he's been doing for the past couple of months is filing extensions rather than actually doing his job. So this then leads Phoebe to go to his house, and when she gets there, she finds out that he is injured, and she quickly tries to help him. So she lays him on the bed, she tries to call Leo. Leo doesn't respond, and she goes to get Leo because she wants him to heal Cole because she can't let him die. Meanwhile, while she's doing that, the sisters create, or rather Prue creates, a summoning spell for Balthazar to bring him to them so that they can vanquish him. However, their call is intercepted because Krell, who is a sort of bounty hunter demon, has been tracking Balthazar and intercepts their summoning. And so, of course, the potion they throw at him does nothing because he's not Balthazar. And then he tries to attack them, but they were prepared and hidden behind a table in case Balthazar tried to attack them. And so that obviously misses by a mile, but he figures out that they are both after the same demon and proposes an alliance after telling them that the reason there is a bounty on Balthazar's head is that he had killed the triad that was trying to kill them and betrayed the source. He leaves so that the sisters can consider his offer to work together. That is when Prue and Piper ask Leo. Leo goes up and to the elders, and basically when he comes back reveals that there's been whispers and rumors, but nothing was confirmed. But now with what Krell has said, it is confirmed. They also look up the type of demon that Krell is, confirming that he has been honest with them so far, which makes Prue inclined to believe him. While they're doing that and confirming all of the information, Phoebe returns home, brings Leo to Cole's, begs Leo to heal Cole, and he is reluctant because he can't heal mortals that haven't been injured by evil magic like demons or warlocks. However, because of her begging, he tries. As he is healing him, he realizes that something isn't right, as there's like little lightning sparks, and then he ends up getting thrown into the wall. And we later learn that that is because Cole is half human, half demon, and Leo was able to heal his human half. However, his powers are not meant to heal evil, and so he was not able to heal the demon half of Cole. But it is enough to get Cole back up on his feet. And Leo realizes what the issue would mean and tells Phoebe about it before leaving and returning back to Piper and Prue. Phoebe then kind of goes through the room and snoops around, having realized that Cole isn't who she thought he was, and is in the midst of confronting him about it when the sisters who back at the manor have resummoned Krell, have joined him in an alliance, and then they go to Cole's house. Well, not house, apartment. And he basically grabs Phoebe and shimmers away with her. And then Krell basically is trying to follow the shimmers, but ends up finding a street rat who had gotten one of Cole's coats that he had bled on. But then they decide that they're going to go and check the cemetery because evil can hide in a cemetery because that's a gathering place where a lot of evil happens, apparently, in the Charmed universe. So they go there, and sure enough, that is where Cole has gone. He has gone to the crypt he was hiding out in, and Phoebe goes with him. Phoebe, of course, confronts him about his lies and asks him if he just was with her to hurt her, blah, blah, blah. But then he basically says, no, I had every opportunity to kill you. Look at all the demons I sent after you. I had you powerless in my grasp, and yet I couldn't do it. Why? Because I love you so much. And you know what? I'm half human, and I'd forgotten what it was to be human until I met you, and you'd reminded me. That's how much I love you. And then they kind of kiss, but then Krell arrives. Phoebe fights Krell, having not wanting him to kill Cole, and Cole ultimately sends an energy ball over at Krell, who basically dies, is vanquished. And the sisters, of course, start yelling for Phoebe. They've arrived at the cemetery too, behind Krell, and Phoebe hears them outside and decides on a snap decision to basically cut Cole's hand, let him bleed onto material, and throw the potion on that. It creates a bang. It makes it look like he was vanquished, and she basically tells Cole to leave and that nobody's going to go looking for him anymore, probably not even the source. And then by the time her sisters arrive, Cole is gone. There's a smoking crater where, well, little crater, kind of like a smoking puddle-sized crater, like very shallow, but a crater all the same, from the vanquishing potion, and she basically tells them that Cole is gone, and they basically comfort her. You did what you needed to do, blah, blah, blah. We then kind of fast forward a bit to where Phoebe is kind of sitting at home playing with the athame that she had taken from Cole's place, and once again, her sisters try to comfort her, saying she did what she had to do, but she says that she is ashamed of her actions. They don't know what she's talking about because they don't know that Cole is still alive, but we as the audience know that she is regretting letting Cole go now that she's had some distance from the moment. And this is where our episode ends. And so now it is time to rank the episode. And on this channel, we rank on two lists. We rank on a mostly objective ranking list and a personal ranking list as well. So as always, we start with our mostly objective ranking values. And we start on the positive side with the single episode supporting character introduction, which was Krell, who was a bounty hunter after Cole's bounty. And the reason Cole had a bounty was because he had killed the Triad and betrayed the Source. And Krell, when he does manage to confront him briefly at the start of the episode, before losing him, even notes that the Source himself set Cole's bounty, which is a reflection of his accomplishments that he had had up to that point, but also the size of his betrayal. So that was a nice fun fact. And he's worth 1 point. And then we have 2 points because we have a multi-episode supporting character introduction, which is Rhys Davidson, who is there to investigate Cole, who has not been doing his job properly. Like I mentioned in the summary, he's only been filing extensions. He hasn't been working on any major cases or even minor cases. And now that he's gone missing and not reported to work, he is being investigated by Rhys Davidson, who is going to recur as his investigation is still ongoing, which makes him worth 2 points, bringing us to 3. We then have our multi-season main character development, which of course is the fact that Cole is found out as being Balthazar, but we also learn that he is half human and that it is his father who was human, meaning that his mother was obviously the demon half. We also learned that in the case of a half human, half demon, Leo is able to heal their human half, just not the other half, the demon one. And it does have a bit of a negative reaction as he did get thrown into the wall and have little sparks coming out of his hands. And that is worth 4 points. We then next have our multi-season main character growth, and this is because this is the first episode in which Piper is able to partially freeze somebody and partially unfreeze somebody. So in the past, we've of course seen her choose who to freeze out of a room, like freeze only the innocents, or, freeze one particular person, but then, or freeze a room and then unfreeze one particular person. But this time with Krell, when he first appears, he obviously is initially hostile because he is evil and attacks them. They freeze him midair, and Piper is able to just unfreeze his head, allowing them to kind of talk to him while he is suspended in the air, frozen, like all the rest of him is frozen. And so that shows that her control over her powers is growing, though maybe not her powers themselves are growing, but at least her control over it has. We then get world building, which is, of course, that we learn that evil frequents cemeteries, and because of the frequent visits to the cemeteries, that makes it difficult for even evil to track other evil beings in a cemetery, which is why demons on the run, or warlocks on the run, or basically evil beings on the run, will often hide in cemeteries. Which brings us now to our final 4 points addition, which is the main relationship development. And this, of course, is the fact that ultimately Phoebe chooses to spare Cole because she loves him and he loves her. And even though it is, well, here's the thing. Cole, there's a lot to do with Cole, and I can't say with any definitive certainty whether it was the right or wrong decision. I mean, obviously, if she had vanquished him, it would have been sad, but I feel like they would have been able to move on. However, at the same time, if she had, the fact that she didn't vanquish Cole gives us like most of, well, he's one of the main pairings, and we would have missed out on a ton of the drama and the back and forths that we get with Cole in the future, which, as an audience member, I would have missed. So, whether it's definitively a good or bad thing, I don't know, but either way, they chose their love, and Phoebe chose to spare Cole. However, this brings us to our one negative, which is, of course, the fact that there is a main relationship regression or breakup, because while Phoebe spares Cole, obviously he is now no longer a part of her life at this particular moment, so that's definitely a regression. Um, Also, she does indicate that she is ashamed at the end of the episode for her actions to her sisters, though they, of course, are assuring her she did nothing to be ashamed of because they think she's talking about being ashamed of vanquishing him versus what she's actually ashamed of is letting him live, which is obviously a regression because that's indicating that maybe the love isn't as strong as she thought. And also throughout the episode, when she finds out about him, she's obviously very hurt by it, that he has lied to her, that he has used her, that he has been trying to kill her this whole time, reasonably so, which of course also are yet more regressions. So that then brings us to a total of 16 points. Obviously, our maximum score is 10, so this is a 10 out of 10 episode. Which now brings us to our season 3 ranking so far, and our mostly objective ranking. In first place, we have The Honeymoon's Over. Magic Hour. This episode comes in third place as our third 10 out of 10 episode, Sleuthing with the Enemy. Fourth was All Hallowell's Eve. Fifth, Once Upon a Time. Sixth, Power Outage. Sight Unseen. And then in eighth, Primrose Empath. Alright, so my personal opinion of the episode was that I really liked it. I enjoyed some of the comedic moments. For example, when they're making the potion to kill Balthazar, every time they're adding an ingredient, it's kind of flaming up. But when they add his flesh, boom, it explodes. well, not like the potion exploding, but like it creates an effect that is poof and kind of throws the sisters kind of away from the potion, which I thought was kind of funny. Obviously, then they summon Krell and they're expecting Balthazar. They have everything set up. They throw the potion, and then he's just standing there like, who the heck are you guys? And of course, he attacks them first as soon as he notices that they're witches. And then, like I said, he gets thrown away by Prue's powers, but he's heading towards the clock, so Phoebe freezes him and basically unfreezes his head, and then he's kind of rude about it and demanding that she unfreeze all of him. And just kind of the reason they froze him in the first place was because they didn't want to destroy the clock because it's so expensive to keep fixing it. But because of his rudeness, Piper basically does what he wants, unfreezes him, and he ends up flying into the wall into the clock. And then Prue kind of looks at her like, what? And she's like, it was worth it. And I was like, that's a great one. We are also getting some setup for the future where we are meeting Reese Davidson, who does recur, and that is kind of bringing up, that side of things with Cole. We have the whole saga with Phoebe and Cole, which, to be honest, I feel like in the past, whenever I have rewatched it, like whenever I've watched it before, because I rewatch it so often, I'm doing something else while it's playing, so I never really noticed before. But Phoebe and Cole's relationship really hasn't progressed very far from when they met. Like they met in episode 1 of season 3, and we're all the way on episode 8, and I feel like they've really not done much as far as being a couple. Like they've had their flirtation going on in each of the episodes, but like actually being a couple, even as like the last episode, Phoebe was kind of in limbo about where they were at the end of the episode, like where they were as a couple. And then this episode, she finds out that he's been trying to kill her. And I'm like, I get that it's an epic love and all, but I feel like we didn't really get to see much of that because when I look back on these last 8 episodes, they've really just barely made it past the flirtation stage, to be honest. They haven't even had the conversation of, are we even together yet? But somehow she loves him so much that she's going to go against everything that her destiny and duty is, which is to defeat evil and protect the innocent from evil and to vanquish demons and warlocks, etc., to save him and spare him. And I get that their connection was instant and especially on Phoebe's part very strong. So I understand why she did it, and of course we get a lot more of relationship development in the future from them. So obviously we know their feelings were very real, but just when I'm like thinking back, I'm like they didn't do much yet for her to be again going against like everything that she's supposed to be, standing for. But I do like them as a couple. It was disappointing to me when I was younger that Cole and her weren't able to make it work. Like Leo and Piper, they fought for it and they eventually got their happy ending, whereas obviously Phoebe and Cole don't. But at the same time, I also felt like there are lessons to be learned from that as well. The fact that even though they do love each other so much and they fought for it, they still couldn't make it work and eventually had to do what was healthy for her and walk away. I felt like that was a good lesson too. But obviously, at this point, she hasn't gotten there yet. That's still several seasons away. Spoilers, a bit late for that. But, anyways, point being, I do find it a little unbelievable that, she's setting aside all of her principles to save him because we as the audience haven't seen much on screen, but then there's also a bunch of time that's off screen that happens between each episode. Like they don't just pick up where the last one left off each and every time, so we can assume a lot more happened, maybe off screen. So that's not real big and not going to impact my score too much. I just wanted to mention it. Krell wasn't completely dislikable as a villain, which is interesting. I think Prue liked him quite a bit. She was talking about how useful he was to them, but obviously didn't grieve his death when she found out that Cole killed him. So, you know, it wasn't much there, but I felt like they were able to cooperate quite well with Krell, though he was a bit rude. Let me see, was anything else interesting? It really was about the Cole and Phoebe drama, to be honest. And I do love the drama of Phoebe and Cole, and I do like, you know, the confessions and everything. So, like I said, I like the episode. I decided to give it an 8 out of 10 because it was very good. It wasn't as good as some of the ones that are upcoming because honestly, there are some really strong episodes coming up, but it was good. So, and we reached a lot of milestones in it. Okay. I'm going to stop talking now and go over our season 3 rankings so far. Our personal ranking list starts with in first place Once Upon a Time, then All Hallowells Eve, Magic Hour, The Honeymoon's Over. This episode, Sleuthing with the Enemy, came in 5th. Then we have Primrose Empath, Sight Unseen, and in last place, Power Outage. Which now brings us to our final segment, which is our series ranking so far. And on our mostly objective ranking side, Season 2 is currently in first place with 75%, Season 1 in second place with 73.18%, and Season 3's pending score so far has gathered 62 points out of 220. On the personal ranking side, we have Season 1 in first place with 71.50%, Season 2 in second place with 56.82%, and then Season 3 has so far gathered 65 out of 220. And with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Charmed Season 3, Episode 8, Sleuthing with the Enemy. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.